This is a safety tip brought to you by Certified Horsemanship Association. We're in Houghton College in Houghton, New York. I'm Ellen Taylor with the Harness Horse Youth Foundation. This is my assistant Emily, and our equine assistant today is CD's Miss M, also known as Missy. She's a 14-year-old trotting bred who teaches kids about harness racing all over the country. Safety in harnessing is very similar to safety in riding. It's just different pieces of equipment. Common sense tells us we're going to start at her head. Missy is already harnessed today, for the reason that it's easier to show you the proper way as opposed to the improper or unsafe tips. We're going to start at her face. We're going to tell you that this is her foretop. Of course, everybody knows that. It's very important that that hair is not in and bothering her when she jogs or is on the racetrack. So we're going to make sure it's either braided or to the side, but it's not in her ears. That's the important thing to remember here. We have two bits. We have an overcheck bit and we have a driving bit. The overcheck bit literally is fastened to the water hook. The water hook serves, and we're not going to do this right now because she's not quite hitched, but it's to serve as a point of balance for her head. This is a snap. It's a brass snap. If she were to shake her head, it would be very unsafe if it's loose, just flopping around. So we're going to either fasten it into a ring or we're going to fasten it into her driving bit, just temporarily, so it is not able to become free and hit somebody in the face. This is a throat latch. The important thing about the throat latch is when she's checked up, this tightens up. So we want the throat latch loose enough that she can still breathe. The head halter in race world, riding world might call it a cavesson, but the purpose of that is to keep her mouth shut so she's easier to steer. As we move back, always make sure that any snaps or buckles are to the outside, down, or back. And that is really for wind resistance and to make sure that they're able to go as fast as they possibly can. You think that it might not make that big a difference? We want every single advantage that we can get because we want to go as fast in harness racing. The other part is when you put the harness on, this happens to be a quick hitch. It eliminates an awful lot of time in hitching, which some horses are impatient when they're hitched. So we eliminate an awful lot of steps in the hitching process when we use a quick hitch harness. These are lines, these are not reins because we drive with them. They hang down. In Missy's case, she's a little short in the leg, just like I am, so we can, for safety reasons, loop them back up underneath her crupper strap. However, the disadvantage to doing that is when you bring them down, you always want to make sure that there's no twists or knots in them because it has a tendency to get all messed up if you are putting them in an unnatural or normal position. Probably the most important thing and the thing that makes me the maddest or that gives me the crazies is if somebody doesn't make sure that all those tail hairs aren't under. You've got to check to make sure, because think about when you pull one little hair on your head, it hurts. If there's one little hair caught underneath there or 3 or 4 little hairs, it's going to cause uncomfort for her and she's going to try to kick when she's hitched to get those hairs loose. And that makes, obviously, for a difficult situation or maybe an even unsafe situation. The other thing is, on a set of lines, they're on a swivel. There's 2 schools of thought on whether you should leave your lines buckled or unbuckled. If you're a novice driver, you really probably ought to leave them buckled. If I'm driving and I've got my hands on the handholds, and they're unbuckled and I drop a line, there's very little way for me to recover. If they're buckled and I have the lines and I drop one, I can always go down and recover my handhold. Notice the keepers. We always want to put whatever straps we have in the keepers for the mere fact that In an emergency situation, it is an additional safety, and it might hold your equipment in position just long enough so that you can make a split-second decision on what happens. So we have a bridle that fits, we have a throat latch that's loose enough, we have a head halter that's tight, we have lines buckled to the outside and in their keepers. We have the lines. We're gonna let them just hang, even though we know that she has the potential to step inside them. We're gonna make sure that they don't, because we're gonna hold them. At this point, the safest way to hitch is to have one person at her head, one person on the other side, and one person on the near side. When I go to get that jog cart, or my assistant's gonna bring it up, she's going to make sure that it is straight in line. Whoa, Missy. She's gonna make sure that it is straight in line with her. If she doesn't do that, she has a tendency, this mare will have a tendency to wiggle to get it straight, and that doesn't create for ease of hitching. The shafts she's gonna have up above her bum, and she's gonna speak to her, and I'm gonna speak to her. Remember, Missy has a blind bridle on. We have now prohibited her vision all the way back. So we have to let her know that she's safe while we bring that jog cart up. And sometimes our jog carts are a little rattly or they creaky, and if that noise, if they're not used to it, a horse might spook. So bring your shafts up. Whoa, Missy, whoa, Missy. I've got the lines to the outside of the shaft so that when my assistant goes down, she clicks it in, there she goes. I'm gonna push in, click it. All right, this is the correct position for lines. I wanna show you how it's incorrect. Inside the shaft, if Missy were to take a step or bolt, it would be very difficult for me to stop her or to in any way help for her from getting loose. If I have them to the outside, even though it's not ideal, at least I have total leverage. The lines are gonna slide through the turrets, and I'll be able to do something before. There's nothing worse than having a jog cart rattling and up on its side as a horse is running off. This has been a safety tip from the Certified Horsemanship Association. Thank you for watching, and we hope you have a wonderful drive.